God is still moving in the pause. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, but also a bit of insight about me, my faith, and a bit of perspective for you if you are a faith-based person, a faith-based entrepreneur. If you believe in God, this is definitely a conversation I think worth hearing and being a part of. And essentially, what it is I want to talk about is God is still moving in the pause. And for me, what that means is even when, you know, things don't seem to be happening, even when you intentionally, like in my case, take a break because other elements of life is heavy. Like if you were like lifting a very, very, very heavy bag, it's only so far you can walk with that heavy bag. And I tend to, in real life, literally, I tend to overpack. Life being heavy, sometimes you have to pause and sit down. And that's literally what happened to me. But I was having a conversation with a friend, and I was also having a conversation with my sister. And I was talking about just reflecting on life. I was reflecting on certain journeys that I would have taken within the last 2 years. And what I realized is that God really is still moving in the pause. In 2022, I shifted my business from being creative in a sense, in terms of doing like websites, doing landing pages, even like online payment setup. I shifted it from that and I was focusing mainly on registering businesses, business plan, and also forming companies. And I realized then that actually prior to even structuring my business in that way, at the end of 2022, I presented some ideas to the Lord. I like to call what I tend to have as a faith-based business owner, entrepreneur. I have what I call boardroom meetings with the Lord. And in one of my boardroom meetings with the Lord, I raised the point of, these would seem to be two separate type of businesses. And I was like, I'm not sure if I could keep carrying the two. I'm not sure how I can even flow with the two. And I also wasn't really sure that that's what he wanted me to do. And he told me to choose which one, choose which one. And so I put pen to paper and I started working it out, like how a teacher would do if they're trying to help you to learn an equation. And I started to weigh my options. And I realized that one business model was weaker than the other and wasn't as sustainable as the other. So I just made a sharp pivot to just focusing on building businesses, because with that I felt that I had a greater ability to serve in the capacity that I felt led to. I can help build the business from its inception in one way as opposed to meeting them in the middle in another way. So, for example, if I were just helping someone with a website or helping them with a flyer or helping them with setting up online payment, I'm meeting them in the middle somewhere. But oftentimes with those businesses, I found that they weren't really prepared on the other side. They didn't have a plan. They didn't have a solid system. They didn't really have an idea of how they were going to build this business, which we tend to do, myself included. We tend to run with the idea, run with the thing that we know is going to make us money, and we don't, and we try to pull the things that we think are going to help us form the business, like the website or the flyer or the social media page, the Facebook, the Instagram, and we want to make it look grandiose and we want it to be this big thing when we still didn't take the time to start from the beginning, which would have been to first plan out what we want this thing to look like. So I realized that that type of business model wasn't conducive for me. And I decided that corporate was the way to go because I could work with someone from the inception of them having an idea and help them form their business, whether it's through business licensing, company formation, business planning. I can help them that way. And so I made that pivot to that business model in 2022. What I also did in 2022 was I applied for the Young Leaders of America's Initiative, which is a U.S. Embassy program that focuses on helping develop entrepreneurs that have big ideas and want to make big impact in their country. We then had to do the in-person component of the program, which would have been spending 6 weeks in a state in the U.S. So I spent like 5 weeks in Austin, well, Texas, and then Austin, Texas, and then I spent a week in Washington D.C. Beautiful experience. Met amazing people. All while this is happening, my business is on a pause. Well, to a degree, to a great degree. All while that is happening, I'm not marketing my services and I have no desire to really push the services either. I was in what felt like burnout and I wasn't really doing much with the business. And I was still taking on clients here and then. The few clients that I was taking on were having wins, so I was really excited about that, but I really wasn't pushing the business. So I obviously was still, writing grant plans, proposals. I still were writing plans, and clients were getting funded, and they were really growing. Like, so proud. But it felt like because certain things were going on in my life and other things were happening, it just felt like there was not a congruence between my business and my life. So I paused the business because I felt like I really, really needed to clean up house. I'm one where I need to feel authentic in everything that I'm doing. It has to feel real, it has to feel true to self. And in that season when I felt that I was starting to slow down in the business, it just felt like a necessary thing to do because it just didn't feel congruent. So I had an office space. I was working out of an office space, and in some cases, it felt like I was just making enough to pay for the office space. And I wasn't really making as much as I would need to also support family life. So in 2023, when I went for the 6 weeks, I still at the office, still was paying for it. And I spent 2 months, I paid 2 months for the office, but I really didn't really spend much time at the office. And even when prior to this, I would have been paying for the office, but oftentimes, I would find myself working from home because I'm a homebody, somewhat of an introvert, whatever. And I realized while I was away that I may need to give this office up because having an office, while it was a great desire of mine, became instead of a necessity, it became an idol to hold on to. So I I made this office an idol because it was something I wanted for so long, so long. It was something I really wanted. And truthfully, I made myself believe that I wanted the office so that I can have a space for clients to come and for me to meet with them, etc. But a lot of my clients I've never met. A lot of my clients, well, first of all, I have clients in all across the islands, and I would meet them through Zoom, phone call, WhatsApp chat. A lot of my clients I've never met in person. I have had clients that I wrote plans for. They got funding. I've never met them ever. And while I was, during the time that I was away, I had a real true encounter with God in a way that I wouldn't have otherwise had I been home experiencing life's realities that were happening. And God knew I needed that break. Because, when you're just doing day to day mom stuff, day to day wife stuff, sometimes it feels like you're hiding under all of the things that you have to do. And that's what life became. It was exhausting having to juggle mom, wife, entrepreneur. It was exhausting. And each role carried its own demand. And so God knew I needed to have this experience that I did just last year, 2023, when I went off to Austin, Texas. And I had a minute to breathe and think and rest in what the only thing I can explain it as is really the Lordship of God, of Jesus. That's it. That's the only thing I can explain it as, because it felt like there were no stresses, there were no worries. It felt like a reset button had been pressed, but it was definitely something I needed in the season that I was in. And ironically, so I came back and home, and the pause continued in business, but there was a lot of work being done within me and, things that I had to do at home. So when I came back home, it was like nesting. And if you've ever been pregnant, nesting is it's something that we tend to do. And I'm generally speaking, because I don't know every pregnant woman on the planet, but I've heard a lot of pregnant women say that they go through this period of nesting, which means they clean up everything in detail, like a deep clean. Literally, they need to get things prepared for this baby. And that's what I was doing. Not pregnant, but nesting. Not expecting, not planning on expecting, but nesting. So, I flipped my entire home upside down, scrubbed walls, repainted it white because I like white. I like straight colors. I'm the type of person that need to see black and white. If I'm looking around the space that I'm in right now, in my front area, my front room, and everything, I have a black accent wall. I have frames on the wall with my family in it. It's black and white against a white wall. I have few pops of colors. The pops of colors, you may ask? Okay. I also have like brown shells, like in my room, same. White walls, white furniture, black shelf. I need to see black and white. I'm the type of person that, because for me, so many things can be spinning in my mind at one time. When I look at something, I need to see some sort of uniformity. I need to see straight lines. I need to see black and white. I need to see symmetry. I need to see nude, you know, because colors can trip me up. Too much colors. And flip the house upside down. The pause is still happening. God is sending clients to me, and I have to say it that way because I didn't advertise. And I'm, working on their projects. Not all projects were successful. And it felt like a personal work. It felt like me doing a deep clean in my home was the beginning of me doing a deep work within myself, digging up things, finding things, realizing things about myself, realizing things about me personally as a person. Then 2024 happens. And I feel like the pause is now about to end. I'm thinking, okay, it's a new year. So therefore, the pause is going to now, there's going to be a play button somewhere. Waiting around for this play button, ain't seen it. And I put out a video at the beginning of the year saying, okay, what was gonna happen this year? I'm excited about things that I'm working on. And at the time, I'm not sure what's happening. I'm not sure what's gonna happen yet. I'm just feeling that there's gonna be something, I'm not sure what's gonna be the thing, but I'm like, something's gonna, something has to come out of this. I got the word because every year God gives me a word for the year, and my word for this year was produce. And I'm like, all right, cool. So God is going to start, you know, leading me into what it is that I need to do. An opportunity came across my table in February. So I'm like, okay, that's different. That's new. Let's see what happens. Mind you, while he's doing whatever he's doing, I'm on a pause. There's nothing happening. March, April, May, and I'm still moseying along. Literally after March, not even moseying along is an understatement. January, February, March, I'm on literal stop. Not advertising, nothing. Business wise, my life just feels like I'm waiting for a reset like no other, a hammer to fall. I don't know. Pause. Airy silence. But I'm still leaning into the instructions of the Lord for what I need to do. And so though things felt like it were paused, in February the Lord had pressed on me to apply for university. So I did. Whatever needs to happen, that's what I'm doing. That happened in February, so I did what I was required to do, and there still seems to be this pause. I'm still waiting to see what's gonna happen, you know. And I don't think I do well in pauses. I don't think I do well in pauses. But I've learned that it's best to pause when God puts you on a pause than to try and manufacture something that He hasn't approved. Just take the story of Abraham and Sarah and run with that. Google search it if you don't know what I mean. It's in Genesis. Take that story, apply it to what I'm talking about right now. Oftentimes, it's best to wait on what God is calling you to do as opposed to manufacturing the result that you want. And to that point, also, it's also sometimes better, not sometimes, it's always better not to idolize the thing that God is promising you or idolize the thing that you're desiring, because then that's also a problem. In the same way that I idolized The Office, that I ultimately gave up. In case I didn't say that, I gave up the office that I had to work remote, really, because that can mean work from home, work from anywhere, work remote, because that's essentially the type of business that I have. I can work from anywhere. Luckily, I have systems that allow me to do that. I gave up the thing that I idolized to take on whatever it was that God was having me to do in that moment. Sometimes it's really truly you get so tired and frustrated that don't you don't want to swim against the current. It's exhausting. And you don't want to continue carrying a heavy bag. You can't go far. So during this journey, there were a lot of things that I had to let go of, and there were a lot of things that I had to let flow as opposed to trying to flow against. I embraced the pause because I had no other choice. There were seasons when I felt impressed to share certain things, offer certain things, and um, and I did it during the time that because I have to add this in there. This during the time that I'm leaving to go to the U.S. and spend that time as a part of the YLI exchange program. I had a vehicle. I let go of the vehicle to cover something that that needed to be covered. And so when I came back, I had no vehicle. I had to let go my Jeep. And when I came back, I had no vehicle. And my father had it had to be like a 1990 something Toyota Tercel. And I had to humble myself because my son needed to get to school. I needed a reliable transportation to get my son back and forth from school. I humbled myself and I asked my dad if I could use his car so that I can get my son to and from school. This car looks like the opposite of what my personified image is online. It doesn't look polished, but it's a reliable trans. Y'all? Oh my God. A humbling season. I appreciate my parents. Trust me to the moon and back. And I never showed on my face or in my mannerisms how much it took out of me to one ask and then also to humble myself and to be in the vehicle that was in. I never really shown that because listen, it was just a part of the journey. Having to shed certain things, shed an image of myself, shed whatever. Oh my gosh. But it was something to behold. This vehicle, this car needed tender loving care. I had to make sure that I had to buy quarts of oil because it had an oil leak. I had to purchase quarts of oil weekly to make sure that it had oil in it so that the car wouldn't run hot and it wouldn't shut off or whatever the case may be. So now I'm like out here. Oh, oh God, popping hoods, pouring oil. And I'm like, oh my God. But I had to swallow my pride. Oh my God. I had to swallow my pride and use that car so my baby could get to school safely and so that he could get home. But y'all, I don't think I've said this to anyone at all actually, the amount of pride I had to swallow to use this vehicle. Ever. I humble myself. Oh my God. And I was grateful because I'm one where I'm always going to be grateful and honored to use something, especially because I didn't have a trans. So I'm like, I need this. I need this. And I have no money to purchase a vehicle because again, I'm on pause. So I have no money to purchase a vehicle. Um, and it is what it is. This is 2023. Oh, but that took something out of me. It took what it needed to take. It took pride, I think, a level of pride, because I probably still am dealing with pride. But it definitely took a level of pride. I can laugh about it now, but oh my God. I still don't have my own personal vehicle, but I'm going to come around to why I'm even mentioning this. God saw a need and He provided the need, but He did not satisfy my ego. He did not. He did not. And it's not like I don't have the type of business where I can generate revenue and purchase a car. I do. He just didn't allow it. He didn't. And I'm rolling around in this 1990 something Toyota Tercel with no air conditioning. The driver window doesn't go down. I'm hot with this bottle, putting ice in it for every trip so that while I'm driving, I have a bottle for me, a bottle for my son with ice cold water in it, and we're drinking that to stay cool in this vehicle. Wow, what a time. I feel like I'm reliving it. What a time. Ultimately, though, the car eventually, tapped out. So I had to rely on family, but it really did last like a good amount of time. And so that's that. colleagues are seeing me and I'm driving this Toyota Tercel. I'm knowing that it's probably, I'm making up stories in my head because I don't know what they're thinking, of course. But I'm making up stories in my head as to how I'm now being seen. Like this image that I felt like I built up is now being tear down. And it's, it is what it is though. Because I feel like at some point I just embraced the fact that I was creating an image that I was also idolizing. So talk about God is still working in the pause. One of the things that he was working on was my pride, holding on to, and my ego, holding on to an image, an office, uh, that I really couldn't afford, and trying to present as this person to satisfy, or I guess make up for what felt like shambles in my personal life. I love the Lord though, because now here we are. And so fast forward now to this year, and still on a vehicle. The Lord is telling me that I need to apply for university, which I did, and there's still this pause. And then it just felt, the pause started to feel like a sinkhole, and I had what felt like a very long spurt of depression. Um, no movement, no nothing, just in the house for weeks on end. But God is still working. And I could say this because of what now was starting to happen now, reflecting on it. So now a few weeks now leading up to school, and I got a scholarship to be able to go back to school, which a full scholarship to be able to go back to school, was able to get other funds to cover fees, and I'm like ecstatic because now I feel like life is now starting to move, and I can now start to show up. Because a lot of times when depression hit, you feel like life is happening, you're moving around, but you're just watching life happen and you're not necessarily a part of it. That's what it felt like. And I'm really excited. And then a few weeks prior to me going to school, my mother-in-law provides us with a vehicle. Now, this isn't a brand new vehicle, mind you. It's definitely, I call this car Big Body Betsy because she big, but she's reliable. Starts one crank. I can get from point A to point B. And just in time for me to go to school. Literally just in time for me to go to school. I was quite content with public transportation to get, because God had already worked on my ego and pride. I'm already catching the bus from time to time. Yeah, I'm already on public transportation. But the Lord saw fit because I made a request, but I also didn't hold on to that request because I wasn't, as much as I wanted my own vehicle, I didn't idolize the idea of having my own vehicle. So I made the request and I let it go, and the Lord saw fit to provide me with my own transportation. And I'm like, you're moving, and it's blowing my mind. Why did I share all of this? I'm sharing all of this because I want you to know that if God has you in a season of pause, embrace the pause because He is still working. You may not know what He's working on right now. You may not know what He's working even in you in the moment, but trust that He's working on something. My time in Austin, Texas showed me that I truly could trust God. And I've been finding myself saying for the past few days, and I say this from time to time, I've been saying this for a while, but I've been saying from time to time, there is literally nothing anyone can tell me that would disprove God's reality in my life. God is real to me. Jesus is real to me because I've seen Him show up in all of those areas. I have seen Him give me the gift of community when I was 29. Well, really, I ever had them. It was just I needed to shift my mindset a bit to embrace the family that and the community that He's given me. And I've seen Him manufacture a course of action for me. And even when I didn't understand. And I feel like I've been in seasons where I didn't have the strength to fight the will of God in my life or the desire because too much things was happening. Oftentimes, I didn't even know if He was working or not in the pause. But it's always been said that hindsight is always 2020. Now that I feel like I'm on the other side of something, not that there isn't still work to do, now that I can see that I'm on the other side of one season, I can look back and be like, oh my God, you had an intention for everything. You knew what you were doing in 2022. You knew what you were doing in 2023. You knew what you were doing in 2014 when I dropped out of university the first time. You knew that I needed to see and experience other things in between the 10 years between me starting and stopping university the first time and now, because I have a greater level of appreciation for this new start. So trust God in the pause and trust that the process can't be skipped. There's no such thing as microwave in this. There's no quick from here to there. There's none of that. You have to go through the process and you have to be willing to submit to the process. Because come hell or high water, you're going to have to go through it. There's no skipping. There's no shortcuts. None of that. It's easier to swim with the current than it is to swim against the current. And trust that things are going to work out exactly how it needs to work out. God values the state of your soul over the things that you want. So there's pride, there's ego. If there are idols, He has to clean up house first before He can take you where He intends for you to go. As the master creator that He is, He has to protect us from ourselves a lot of times. And in seeing how He does that and has done that for me, I am fueled, motivated, overwhelmed by His kindness, His love, His intentionality. He's literally the most trustworthy person I know. I can rely on His presence. It's true that He never leaves you nor forsake you. It's true. He's never left me or forsaken me. And now one season has ended and another season is beginning. And I have the confidence to trust Him the whole way. And yeah, God is present in the pause. God is working in the pause. He's working on you primarily, but He's also working out the checkpoints in your destiny, because that's what it is. I feel like I've passed one checkpoint and on to the next. He's still refining as well. In church, you hear the refiner's fire, which is essentially when I think it's akin to like gold or forming metal, I don't know. And they dip you in the fire, assess to see if all the impurities are out. Dip again, check and inspect to see if all the impurities are out. That, as a saved individual, is what we go through if you're journeying with the Lord, because that's a difference. You can be saved, but you've not yet made the choice to journey with the Lord. If you're journeying with the Lord, there's a dipping, there's an inspection, there's a dipping, and there's an inspection. And it's not pretty. It's not fun. It is draining. But it's so worth it because you get a deeper level of understanding of other people when you see them acting crazy. You get to love people in a different way. You get to see people in a different way. You get to come off your high horse and really just see people for real. And at the end of it all, how could you serve people if you don't see them? You can't. You can't really truly serve them from the heart if you can't see them. And I think for me, that's what I needed. I needed to see people in a way that I've never seen them before. I needed to see myself in a way that I've never seen myself before. So the journey is always worth it. So trust God in the journey. Trust that He is faithful to do exactly what He intends to do with you. He that began a good work is faithful to complete it. Now, we are also to be held responsible for our part of the journey and our part of the work, because God can't give you access to something you never applied for. You have to apply yourself to the things that He's calling you to do. I would have never experienced YLI, Young Leaders of America's initiative, if I didn't take the initiative to apply and go through the process. I would have never now been sitting in university again if I didn't apply and do what was required. So starting over, a good chunk of that is breaking things down. Sometimes you have to break down the old structures and rebuild. And that's it. That's really all I feel like I needed to say for this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Please feel free to comment, like, subscribe. This is crazy. I didn't intend to record today, but this face is on because I was going to go to church, but God had other plans. And so let me know how this has blessed you, if it has blessed you. If you've watched to this point, then you definitely are one of those that's here to watch my journey, that we're here to journey together. So subscribe, like, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.